You know every hazardous chemical in your workplace? Well, by law, every single one has to have a safety data sheet, or an SDS. This document tells you everything: what the chemical is, how it can hurt you, what to do if you get exposed, the exact PPE you need to wear, and how to store it safely. Now, most of us have seen these, maybe in a binder or posted on a wall, but nobody ever really walks you through them. Well, after this, you'll know how to use any SDS quickly, confidently, and, most importantly, correctly.
And that quote really gets to the heart of it. An SDS isn't just a boring compliance document. No, it's a practical tool that you're going to use in two totally different situations. First, for calm, smart planning before you even start a job, and second, for making rapid, life-saving decisions when things go wrong. We're going to show you how to master both.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll quickly cover why every SDS looks exactly the same. And trust me, there's a really good reason for it. Then we'll dive into the two main ways to read it: what I call the emergency path for when you're in a crisis, and the proactive path for planning your work safely. We'll touch on the other sections and then wrap it all up with a simple action plan you can take with you.
So, why this super strict format? Why do they all look the same? Well, it's all about speed and clarity. And understanding the why behind this design is really the key to using any SDS like a pro. See, before 2012, we had these things called Material Safety Data Sheets, or MSDSs, and they were kind of a mess. Imagine a messy drawer. All the information was in there somewhere, but every manufacturer had a different layout. In an emergency, you'd be frantically flipping through pages just trying to find first aid info. So OSHA adopted the Globally Harmonized System, or GHS. This created the standardized safety data sheet we have today. Now, every SDS has the same sections in the same order. That messy drawer became a perfectly organized toolbox.
And this is the magic number: 16. Every single SDS, it doesn't matter if it's from a supplier in Texas, Germany, or Japan, will have these exact 16 sections, and they will always be in the same order. Once you learn this structure, you can navigate any SDS in the world. It's basically a universal language for chemical safety.
Okay, now let's talk about our first and most critical skill: how to use the SDS when an emergency is happening and every single second counts. In a crisis, a big spill, a splash to the face, an unexpected reaction, you don't have time to read a novel. You need to focus on just 3 sections. And it's easiest if you think of them as answering the 3 most urgent questions you'll have. Who do I call? What am I dealing with? And what do I do right now?
Section 1 is always your starting point. It's like the cover page. It tells you the chemical's name and who made it. But the most important thing on this page, without a doubt, is that emergency phone number. This is usually a 24/7 number, often to a service like Chemtrack. So when things get chaotic, your first move is to find this section and make that call.
Next is Section 2, and honestly, this is probably the most important section for you as a worker. It's designed to give you a super fast visual summary of all the dangers. This is where you find the signal words, the hazard statements, and of course those all-important pictograms.
You'll always see one of 2 words here: danger or warning. It's really simple. Danger is for the most severe stuff, and warning is for everything else that's less severe. Now here's the key rule. A chemical can have a whole bunch of different hazards, but you will only ever see one signal word. If even just one of its hazards is bad enough to get the word danger, then that's the only word you're going to see.
And this is where the GHS system really shines. These 9 pictograms are like a universal language for hazards. They're designed so you can understand the danger in a split second, no matter what language you speak. Let's break them down real quick. First up, the physical hazards.
The flame, that means it's flammable. The flame over a circle means it's an oxidizer. That's a chemical that can make fires burn way hotter or even cause stuff that doesn't normally burn to ignite. Exploding bomb is for explosives. The gas cylinder means, you guessed it, gas under pressure. And the corrosion symbol warns you that it can cause nasty skin burns or chew through metal.
Now for the health hazards. And I really want you to catch this distinction because it's crucial. The skull and crossbones means acute toxicity. That means it can harm you or even kill you fast, sometimes with just a small dose. The health hazard symbol, some people call it the exploding person, that signifies chronic toxicity. This is the stuff that causes serious, long-term problems like cancer or organ damage from being exposed over and over again. So they're both very serious, but they get you on completely different timescales.
The exclamation mark is kind of a catch-all for less severe hazards, things like being an irritant or a skin sensitizer. And finally, you might see the environment pictogram for things toxic to aquatic life. It's important to know that OSHA actually doesn't enforce this one, but a lot of manufacturers include it anyway, so you'll definitely see it out there.
All right, the final piece of our emergency puzzle is Section 4, First Aid. Now here's the absolute #1 rule with this section. You need to read this before you ever use a new chemical, not after you've already been exposed. It gives you clear, step-by-step instructions for what to do. And here's a pro tip. If you ever have to go to the emergency room because of a chemical exposure, bring the SDS with you, or at the very least, a picture of Section 4 on your phone. That little notes to physician part gives doctors vital info they need to treat you correctly.
Okay, take a breath. We've covered the crisis plan, now let's switch gears. We're going to move from reacting to an emergency to preventing one from ever happening in the first place. This is the proactive path. These are the sections you need to review before you start your work. So for your proactive safety check, there are 4 key sections. They help you answer all those what-if questions. What if there's a fire? What if there's a spill? How exactly do I store this stuff safely? And what personal protective equipment, or PPE, do I absolutely have to wear?
Section 5 is all about fire. It tells you exactly what kind of fire extinguisher to use. And why does that matter so much? Because using the wrong one can turn a small fire into a disaster. Just imagine grabbing a standard water extinguisher to put out a flammable solvent fire. You just spread the burning liquid everywhere and make things 10 times worse. Section 5 helps you avoid that exact mistake.
Now, just as important is Section 6. That's your game plan for spills. It tells you how to contain it, what to wear while cleaning up, and when you just need to evacuate. Then you've got Section 7, which is all about storage. So many chemical fires happen simply because the wrong chemicals were stored next to each other, like putting acids next to bases or oxidizers near flammables. Section 7 tells you exactly what needs to be kept apart.
And finally, before you even think about opening a container, you need to check Section 8. This section is the final word on your PPE, and it's specific. It doesn't just say wear gloves. No, it'll tell you the type of glove material you need that can actually resist that chemical. It lists the exact eye protection, respiratory gear, and anything else you need to work safely.
Okay, we've covered the core sections for emergencies and for planning your work. Now let's just do a quick lightning round of the other sections that fill in the technical details and give you the complete picture.
So, Section 3 tells you what ingredients are in the mix. Sections 9, 10, and 11 get into the technical stuff, like what it looks and smells like, what makes it unstable, and all the detailed health effects. Sections 12 through 15 cover things like disposal and transport info. Now, OSHA doesn't enforce these, but they are still important. And finally, Section 16 tells you the date the SDS was last revised, which is always a good thing to check.
Okay, that was a ton of information, I get it. So, how do we make this practical? Let's boil it all down into a super simple action plan you can use every single day on the job. This is it, your 2-path action plan. It's simple. Path 1, in a crisis, you immediately go to Sections 1 for who to call, 2 to see the hazards, and 4 for first aid. Path 2, before you work, you proactively check Sections 5 for fire info, 6 for spills, 7 for storage rules, and 8 for your PPE. And the foundation for all of this, Step 3. Always know where to find your SDSs. It doesn't matter if they're in a binder or on a computer, you have to be able to get to them fast. Look, the safety data sheet is your right to know. But more than that, it's your right to understand. By using this 2-path approach, you can turn it from just another piece of paper into a powerful tool you actually know how to use to keep yourself and your coworkers safe. If you want to learn more about workplace safety and OSHA rules, subscribe to HSEstudy.